Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to our business studies lesson today. My name is Teacher Kelvin Fude Wanyabura from Bethlehem Senior School. There's something I always tell you at the end of our lessons here, that never forget to pray before you do anything. And therefore today we are going to start our lesson with the word of prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we worship you for this lesson. I pray that each and every student that is going to watch this lesson may understand each and every concept that you are going to learn. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen. So in our previous business studies lesson, we were dealing with the topic, a very interesting topic, the topic of demand and supply. It is a Form 3 topic. So it's Form 3 topic. The first topic in Form 3, the topic is demand and supply. Demand and supply. And in this topic of demand and supply, we dealt with the various objectives. We achieved various objectives in the previous lesson where we defined what demand is, and we saying that demand, it is the amount of goods and services that the buyers are willing and able to buy at a given price in a given period of time. And we looked at the various factors that influences the demand of a product. We also looked at the supply, and
we defined what supply is. It is the amount of goods and services that the seller are able and willing to take to the market at a particular price in a given period of time. We looked at the various factors that determine or that influences the supply of a product. In our previous lessons, we looked at the demand curve. We looked at the demand schedule. We looked at the demand curve. We looked at the supply schedule. We looked at the supply curve. We looked at the supply curve. And my dear students, if you are in that lesson and you listened very well, we looked at the various factors that lead to a shift in demand curve to the right, and the various factors that lead to a shift in demand curve to the left, to the right and to the left. We also talked about the movement along the demand curve and the factors that influences movement of movement along the demand curve. We also looked at the supply curve. We looked at the shift in supply curve to the right and the shift in supply curve to the left, and the various factors that influences the shift in supply curve to the right and the shift in supply curve to the left. We also looked at the movement along the supply curve and the various factors that causes movement along the supply curve. So we have the demand curve and we have the supply curve. The demand curve and the supply curve together can make up what we call the equilibrium point. And therefore, our objective today, one day, we are going to deal with the point that is the equilibrium point, the equilibrium price, the equilibrium quantity. We'll also look at the excess demand and excess supply, and what can we do so that we can solve excess demand in the market, and so that we can solve excess supply in the market, so that we can have market stability. We are also going to look
at the factors that determines the price of a product, starting with the forces of demand and supply. That is the forces of demand and supply. That is the price mechanism method that we are going to deal with right now. My dear students, if you have questions or if you have any comment, you can send to the number that is on your screen. So we start our lesson topic today: equilibrium price, equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So the price at which the quantity demanded equates to the quantity supplied. That is what we call the equilibrium price. The price at which the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. That is what we call the equilibrium price. And that quantity is what we call the equilibrium quantity. Then the point at which the price, the point at which the quantity demanded equates to the quantity supplied, that is what we call the equilibrium point. That is what we call the equilibrium point. So I'll have an example of a schedule, that is a demand schedule and a demand curve, a demand schedule and a supply schedule, and the prices of the product. Then from these prices of the product, you'll be in a position to identify the equilibrium price. So let's have an example of a supply schedule and a demand schedule. So if we have an example of a supply schedule and a demand schedule, we have the price of the product, we have the quantity demanded, QD to represent the quantity demanded, and QS to represent the quantity supplied. At price 10, the quantity demanded in our example here is 100. At price 10, the quantity supplied in the market, or the quantity of the goods and services that the sellers are willing to bring to the market at 10 shillings is 80 shillings. Sorry, it's 80. The quantity is 80. So I want us to see what happens. When the price increases to 20, the quantity demanded decreases. Why? Because we dealt with the law of demand. And according to the law of demand, we say that when the price decreases, the quantity demanded decreases, because buyers will not be willing to buy a product which is expensive compared to a product that is affordable. So what will happen to the quantity demanded? The quantity demanded will decrease to 70, and the quantity supplied will increase. The quantity supplied will increase to 90. Will increase to 90. Let's say the quantity demanded will decrease to 95, and the quantity supplied will increase to 90. At price 30 shillings, what will happen? At price 30 shillings, the quantity demanded will decrease. Remember, as we increase the price, the quantity demanded decreases. So the quantity demanded will decrease to 90 shillings. Let's say previously, when the price was 20 shillings, the quantity supplied increased to 85, not 90. So when the price increases to 30, the sellers will be willing to bring more product to the market, and therefore the quantity supplied will increase to 90. I want us to say something up to there. At price 10, the demand is 100. The supply is 80. At price 20, when the price increases, the demand decreases to 95, and the supply increases from 80 to 85. When the price increases to 30, the demand, according to the law of demand, where the demand decreases with the increase in price, the quantity demanded decreases from 95 to 90. And according to the law of supply, where the quantity supplied increases with the increase in price of the product, the quantity supplied increases from 85 to 90. So a bright student will be able to learn something here. At price 30 shillings, the quantity demanded is 90 and the quantity supplied is 90. So 30 shillings is the price that equates the quantity demanded to the quantity supplied. Why? Because the demand and the supply is equal at 30 shillings. As the price continues to increase to 40, the quantity demanded will continue to decrease to 80 and the quantity supplied will increase to 95. At price 50, the quantity demanded will decrease to 70 according to the law of demand, and the quantity supplied will increase to 100. So, from our demand schedules here, you can be able to learn the law of supply, where the supply is increasing with the increase in the prices, and the law of demand, where the demand decreases with the increase in price. But there is one price, that is the price at 30 shillings, where the quantity demanded is equals to the quantity supplied. Therefore, 30 shillings is the equilibrium price. Why? Because it is the price at which the demand equates to the supply. 90, the quantity of 90. If we were dealing with brands, loaves of brands, 90 loaves of bread, if the quantity was the quantity or the amount of the loaves of bread, 90 loaves of bread is the equilibrium quantity, because it is the quantity where the demand is equal to the supply. So from this from this demand and supply schedule, we can come up with two curves on the same axis. We can come up with two curves where we'll have the demand curve that slopes downwards from the left to the right, and the supply curve that slopes downwards from the right to the left. So this, we'll call it price. On the y-axis, we have the price, and on the x-axis, we have the quantity. Previously, in our previous lesson, we dealt with the demand curve alone, and we dealt with supply curve alone. So when the demand curve is drawn alongside the supply curve, then it gives us a demand curve and a supply curve. There is a point where the two curves intersect, or a point where the two curves meet. That is what we call the equilibrium point. That is what we call the equilibrium point. So now I want us to learn something. If we have a sketch of a demand curve denoted as D naught, and supply curve denoted as S naught, we have a point here. We have a point here where the two curves intersect. This is what we call the equilibrium point. This is what we call the equilibrium point. What did we say the equilibrium point is? The equilibrium point, we said, it is the point at which the price, where the price equates the quantity demanded to the quantity supplied. The price at the equilibrium point, is called the equilibrium price. And the quantity at the equilibrium price is called the equilibrium quantity. We have said very well that at this price, equilibrium price, the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. And this is the sketch that is showing the equilibrium price, the price at which the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied, and the quantity itself. If this was 30 shillings, our equilibrium price from our demand and supply schedule, this would be 90 loaves of bread if we are dealing with the loaves of bread. So this is the equilibrium point, and that is all about equilibrium point. But this is a question that you may be asked on equilibrium point. How would a shift in demand curve to the right and to the left affect the equilibrium points, price, and quantity? How would a shift in supply curve to the right and to the left affect the equilibrium point, the equilibrium price, and the equilibrium quantity, and the equilibrium quantity? So I want us to look at change in demand curve. How will change in demand affect the equilibrium price, point, and quantity? Change in demand curve. So change in demand curve, change in demand. We have our two curves here. We have our two curves here. The demand curve and the supply curve, denoted as D0, D0 for demand curve, and S0, S0 for supply curve. We have the equilibrium point here, equilibrium point, and we have the equilibrium price here, the equilibrium price. We have the equilibrium quantity there. We have the equilibrium quantity there. So in this case, you can be asked, how would a shift in demand curve to the right affect the point of equilibrium? So I want us to look at our diagram very, very carefully and see the effect. The effect is just illustrated clearly here. So we have the equilibrium point. The demand curve shifts from D0, D0 to the right to D1, D1, which means there is an increase in demand of the product that is caused by all the factors that increases the demand of a product except price. So what would happen to a shift to the right? Shift in demand curve to the right. Now I want, my dear student, you to look at this carefully. If there is a shift in demand curve to the right from D0, D0 to D1, D1, the equilibrium point moves upward and to the right. Just see how the movement is occurring. The equilibrium point, this is what you are supposed to explain in your exam. The equilibrium point moves upwards and to the right, while the equilibrium price moves upward, showing that there is an increase in price, and the equilibrium quantity moves to the right, showing that there is an increase in the quantity. What does this show? This shows that when there is a shift in demand curve to the right, what will happen when there is an increase in demand? When there is an increase in demand, the suppliers will take advantage and they will increase the prices of the product. That's why the equilibrium price is shifting upwards, showing that there is an increase in the price of the product in the market. As a result of increase in the price of the product in the market, the supply of the product will increase. Remember, supply increases with the increase in price. That is what happens, or that is the effect of shift in demand curve to the right on the equilibrium point, upward and to the right, equilibrium price upward showing an increase, equilibrium quantity to the right showing an increase in the quantity, an increase in the quantity. I hope that, my dear student, you have understood that. A demand curve may also shift to the left. What would happen to the equilibrium point, price, and quantity if it shifts to the right? So I want us to look at this. If the demand curve shifts from D0 to D2, that is a shift in demand curve to the left. It shows that this was the equilibrium point. This was the equilibrium point. This was the equilibrium point. This is the equilibrium price. The price at which the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. This is the equilibrium quantity. So what will happen to the equilibrium point, equilibrium price, and equilibrium quantity? The equilibrium point will move downwards and to the left. The equilibrium price will move downwards from P0 to P2, which shows there is a decrease in the price of the product. The equilibrium quantity will move to the left, showing that there is a decrease in the quantity. There is a decrease in the quantity. So, my dear student, in case you are asked, the effect of a shift in demand curve to the left on the equilibrium point, equilibrium price, and equilibrium quantity. This is what you'll explain. When the demand shifts from D0 to D2 to the left, the equilibrium point moves downward to the left. The equilibrium price moves downward from P0 to P2, which is a decrease in price, and the equilibrium quantity will move from Q0 to Q2, which is a decrease in the quantity. Why is this happening? When the demand of the product decreases, it will make the suppliers to bring less product to the market. And this, when the supply decreases, also the price of the product decreases. That is the change in demand. Shift in demand curve to the right, shift in demand curve to the left. How does it affect the equilibrium point, the equilibrium price, and the equilibrium quantity? Let us look at shift in supply curve. Shift in supply curve, my dear student. Shift in supply curve. What would happen? Change in supply. Change in supply. Change in supply. So we'll still have our equilibrium, point, price, and quantity. Our curves are well drawn there. This is D0, D0, S0, S0. Not means the original. Price and quantity. So what would happen if we have a shift in supply curve to the right? What would happen if we have a shift in supply curve to the right? That means there is an increase in supply. When there is an increase in supply, remember this was our equilibrium point. our equilibrium price not, our equilibrium quantity not. Now, when the supply curve shifts to the right from S0 to S1, the equilibrium point moves downward and to the right, making the equilibrium price to move downwards, which means there is a decrease in price and the equilibrium quantity moves to the right. Why is this happening? When the supply increases, there will be increase in the quantity supplied. That's why the equilibrium quantity shifts to the right. If there is an increase in the quantity supplied, what will the suppliers do? Because this means that the supply is more than the demand. So what will the suppliers do? They will decrease their prices to attract more buyers. So when there is an increase in price of the product, when there is an increase in supply, shift to the right, the equilibrium point moves downward and to the right, making the equilibrium price to move downward, a decrease in price as a result of increase in the quantity supplied. Because when the quantity supplied increases, the suppliers will decrease the prices to attract more customers to buy the products. What about a shift in supply curve to the left? What about a shift in supply curve to the left? My dear student, if you have any question, there's a number on the screen. You can send your question, your comments, and I'm going to answer them. So, still on change in supply. Still on change in supply. Change in supply. We have our demand curve, the supply curve, D naught, D naught, S naught, S naught. If now this is the equilibrium point, the point at which we have the equilibrium price, the price at which the quantity supplied is equals to the quantity demanded. Now, if the supply curve shifts to the left, which means a decrease in supply, let us see what will happen to the equilibrium point. The equilibrium point moves downward to the left, which makes the equilibrium price to move downwards, a decrease in price, and the equilibrium quantity moves to the left, which is a decrease in quantity. What does this mean? If the quantity supplied decreases, then we'll have less supply in the market. And also, when there is less supply in the market, what causes less supply in the market? According to the law of supply, the decrease in price causes decrease in the supply. And therefore, in your explanation, you'll just say, a shift in supply curve to the left will lead to movement of equilibrium point downward to the left, which leads to a decrease in price of the product from P0 to P1, and as a result of decrease in the price of the product, the equilibrium point also decreases. Now, we have talked of the equilibrium point. And we said that the equilibrium point, it is a point where the quantity demanded is equals to the quantity supplied. My dear students, maybe you are asking yourself, now that this is the equilibrium point, EP naught, and this is the equilibrium quantity, EQ naught. What if we set a price above the equilibrium? What would happen? If we have a price, P1 there, above the equilibrium, what are we going to have? Now, someone else is asking, Teacher Kelvin, that is above the equilibrium. What if we set a price below the equilibrium? P2. P2, that is price 2. Don't mistaken. P2, price 2. You know, some may think of other P2s. So a price above the equilibrium from P0 to P1, even you as a student, if you observe, what is happening? What is happening to the demand? What is happening to the supply? Let us see. This is D0. This is S0. What is more than the other at a price that is above the equilibrium? The demand is very low. Can you see the demand? The demand is very low because there is the quantity. The quantity. And this is the price. But the supply at a price above the equilibrium, the supply is very high. Can you see? The supply is very high. And therefore, we'll have what we call excess supply. Excess supply. So now, if there is excess supply, what are we going to do? Why is there excess supply? Because obvious, when the price increases, the supply increases. So when we have excess supply, what will happen? The suppliers will be compelled. The suppliers will be compelled to decrease their prices to equilibrium price, so that we may not have excess supply. Now, below the equilibrium, we have what we call excess demand. Excess demand. Let us see how it's happening. The price decreased to P2, which gives us the supply at this point and the demand at this point. A good observer can see that the demand is higher than the supply. Therefore, we have the excess demand. Why? Because even you, as a student or anyone who is observing me, when would you buy many shoes? When the price is the same quality, the price is 2,000, and when the price is 500. When the price is 500, you'll use 2,000 to buy 4 shoes. When the price is 2,000, you'll just buy 1 shoe. So when the price decreases, then the demand of the product will increase, and we'll have the excess demand. What will the suppliers do? Not the suppliers now, but the buyers. The buyers will be compelled to increase the price to the equilibrium so that we can have the equilibrium price and will not have any excess demand, will not have any excess supply, but will have market stability. Thank you. I can see you're still sending some more questions. Let me see the questions. These are questions on forms of business. Yeah, this is a question on forms of business unit. A student is asking, what are the sources of finance for a sole proprietorship form of business unit? That is in Form 2, Topic 1. We have the main source of finance is owner savings. We have inheritance, borrowing from friends, or loans, and also donations. That is one question. You can see another question here. Student is asking, excuse me, sir, how will you explain the shift in supply? I'll explain the shift in supply as we get to the next subtopic. Shift in supply, let me answer that question. Shift in supply, I had explained it in the previous lesson. Shift in supply curve, either to the right or to the left. Sorry, this is the demand curve. A supply curve, continue sending your questions. We just have one subtopic. Supply, supply. Supply 2, supply 2. Price, quantity. supply 1, supply 1. So shift in supply curve to the right and shift in supply curve to the left. Supply curve, shift in supply curve to the right is caused by all the factors that affect the supply of the product except price. Except price. Because at the same price, the supply increases. At the same price, the supply decreases. So all the factors that influences the supply of a product, cost of production, increase in cost of production will lead to a shift to the left because it will decrease the demand. The supply we discussed in the previous lesson. Factors, availability of factors of production, price of other related product, natural factors, seasonal changes, all those factors. If it's a shift to the right, you mention factors that will increase the supply of the product. If it's a shift to the left, factors that will decrease the supply of the product. My dear student, you can continue studying your questions as we get to our last subtopic in the topic of demand and supply. Methods of determining the price of a product. Methods of determining the price of a product. Methods of determining the price of the product. Price of a product. Methods of determining the price of a product. Methods of determining the price of a product. The first method is the price mechanism method, the one that we have discussed here. Whatever we were discussing is called price mechanism method. That is the first method, price mechanism method, also known as forces of demand and supply. Now, in an exam, you can be asked, other than the price mechanism method, explain other methods of determining the price of a product. One, we have haggling. Haggling. I'm saying haggling or bargaining. Bargaining. So bargaining or haggling, I know you have experienced this. This is whereby the seller and the buyer negotiate on the price of the product. I tell you, how much is this towel? It's 2,000. 2,000, a towel, 2,000. Okay, I have 200. From 2,000 to 200, customer, because I don't want you to leave, can you increase it to 1,500? Maybe I can reduce for you to 1,500. No, I have the far that I can go is 300. 300 customer, 300. From 2,000 to 300 customer. That is what I have. So let me go and buy to where they are selling at 300. No, customer, come back. People is to talk. Watu ni kuongea customer. So what we are going to do is let me decrease the price to 1,000. Okay, the seller, I just have 300. And because they are towers of 300, I know somewhere, let me go and buy for 300. Yeah, I'd have gone. Customer, just come back. Okay, it is better I go at a loss, but just bring that 300. Okay, there 50, just add 50 shillings. Okay, I'm giving you 350. That is what we call haggling. So 350 shillings becomes the price of the product. That is called bargaining or haggling. Negotiating. The other one is tendering. You will find of people say, I want to go and look for a tender to construct a certain building. Tendering is where people are called to make bids. To make bids is to suggest the prices. So the person who makes a reasonable bid or gives a reasonable price, or the person who gives the lower price becomes or wins the tender, and that becomes the price of the product. The other one is called auctioning. Auction, this is whereby the buyers are given an opportunity or a chance to suggest their prices. So you'll be told, how much is that? How much is this book? This book is 100. 100 the first time. Oh no, 200. I have 200. 200 the first time. The second time. No, I have 500. 500 the first. I have 1,000. 1,000 the first time. 1,000 the second time. 1,000 the third time. And 1,000 becomes the price of that book. That is what we call auction. You are given an opportunity to suggest the price of the product. Then the one who suggests the highest price, that is called the highest bidder, that price becomes the price of the product. And we have another method that we call government intervention. The government can intervene and determine the price of a product through price control. They set a certain price against which you should not go beyond. So they can say that you should not be selling beyond 500 shillings. That is the government policy, government intervention through legislation, setting laws that sets the prices. We have also subsidies, subsidizing production or meeting some cost of production. So someone is asking, in an exam, Walimu, in the inventor, we have 4 other factors apart from price mechanism method. But I've ever seen a KCSE past paper asking, other than price mechanism method, explain other 5. So what should I do? If such a question is asking, then you will earn. But this one should come as the last point. You'll earn fixing by the producer. If you are asked 6 other factors apart from the price mechanism method, you will earn what we call fixing by the producer. Fixing by the producer. And you will explain and say the producer can set a price of a product and say that that is the price at which our products are going to sell. So my dear students, those are the methods of determining the price of a product, and that marks the end of the topic of demand and supply. And now I answer some questions that are here. Someone is asking, what are the factors of a good business opportunity? The topic is entrepreneurship, from where the question comes from. A good business opportunity, we have personal consideration and business consideration. You must consider the skills of the entrepreneur, the person who wants to start the business. Does he have enough skills? The commitment of the entrepreneur, is he going to be fully committed to that business, or he has other commitments? We have to consider objectives. What is the main aim of the business? We have to consider the interest. Does he have the interest of the business? Those are personal considerations. Business consideration, other factors. Other factors include availability of good transport network, good security, communication network, availability of market, and so on, and so on and so forth. So, my dear student, as I complete my lesson, I am an author. I have written so far 3 books. My first book is Never Give Up. If you feel that you are in hard situation in your life, read Never Give Up, and you'll never give up. In fact, I as an author, when I'm down, I also read it. I also have another book, With God All Is Well. So you are told, never give up, because with God all is well. Still, I'm a master, not only a master of business studies, but also a master of mathematics. Here is a mathematics book. It's called Boosting Mathematics Performance KCSE Mathematics Revision Book by teacher Kelvin Fudi Wanyabura. It's a good book explaining all the formulas and worked examples. If you'd like to get a copy of any of my books, whether never give up, not to give up in your life, or with God all is well, because with God all is well, or this revision, mathematics revision books, boosting mathematics performance, you can contact me via 0705 845 747 0705 845 747. Continue revising business studies so that you also become a master of business studies. My name is Teacher Kelvin Fudi Wanyabura from Bethlehem Senior School. I thank you for attending the lesson, and I believe God will bless you abundantly, and above. And as I keep on reminding you, my dear students, never forget to pray before you do anything, because through God's favor, great things happen. Have a blessed day, and God bless you abundantly. God bless you.
Repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matter.
Yani unavyoona basi niko kipwani pwani tu.
Unapopika inatakana uwe uko half cooked. Tui ni nazi imekunwa, inawekwa kwa hii samaki juu. Wewe mwenyewe ukiangalia samaki, mtazamaji, utaona vile inapendeza.
Niko Kilifi, niko katika kaunti ya Kilifi, Magavazi ya Gede.
Samaki mwenyewe ndio huyo kidogo. Samaki kidogo iko na maajabu kwa sababu ni tumbo yake iko juu ya kichwa.
Karibu sana kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV, ukiwa nami nahodha mwendesha chombo, si mwingine bali ni bibie huwa linalonukia na kuvutia, waridi tamu.
Stream live mitindo ya kipwani on our KUTV Facebook page every Saturday 4 p.m.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi kukufuku, pepo pani idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
You need to look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, you know Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga tu chini hapo ukinyepia ukikatia mademo akipita.
Ninaweza saa hii nimekuja kukopesa choo.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to our today's lesson. So today we are going to discuss a topic called algebra. I want to welcome you all. My name is Teacher Priscilla. I hope that you are going to work together and you are going to learn from each other. So I need you to have a pen, a book, so that we can learn together. So our topic is algebra. So, and we're going to look at solving algebraic equations. So that is